Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 2 to 6 player game, Tap 4, designed by Marilyn Dick and Doreen Mills, and published by The Op, who helped sponsor this video. Here, you'll be racing to get rid of your cards and keep your score as low as possible. This game was designed by two friends who met in Idaho and formed such a bond over games, they decided to design their own. And now I get to teach it to you. So, join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To set up, shuffle all the cards into a single deck and deal 19 to each player. We'll assume we have 3 players in this video, and any leftover cards you can set aside out of play. Don't look at your own cards. Instead, randomly put 4 of them face down on the table in front of yourself, flipping any 4 remaining cards face up, putting 1 on each of the face down cards. These are known as your piles. Your remaining 11 cards go into your hand. You can examine these, but keep them a secret from the other players. And that's the setup. In Tap 4, each player is trying to get rid of the cards in their hand and in front of themselves by playing them into a central stack. As soon as someone has, the round ends, and players who still have cards score points, which is bad. You don't want points. Then you start a new round by shuffling and redealing cards until eventually a player has scored 150 or more points, which ends the game. Then the person with the least points wins. Here we've set up the first round where the youngest player will take the first turn, or you can just pick someone randomly. Players will then take turns clockwise around and around the table, and on your turn, you can perform one of 3 possible actions, which we'll go through together, starting with playing number cards. These are the cards in the deck with numbers that go from 1 to 12, and there are 8 copies of each value. When you use your turn to play number cards, you add 1 or more cards sharing the same value to what is known as the stack, an area that all players will put their cards into. So I could play any single card here, or if I have more than 1 with the same value, I can play them all into the stack together. The cards you play can come both from your hand, or your personal piles, or a combination of both. So if I decided to play 5s, I could play these 2 from my hand, and then this one from the top of this pile. When you play a face-up card like this, do not automatically flip the face-down card under it. Leave it unseen for now. As you play your cards to the stack, always announce their values and how many you played. So here I would say 3 5s, and we'll see why this matters in a moment. Now I should mention, you don't have to play all of the cards that match the value you're playing. I could have just played one of the 5s in my hand and the one from this pile hanging onto this one, or instead played none of the cards from my hand and just played this one from my piles. Usually you do want to play as many cards as you can since you are trying to get rid of them, but you don't have to. Once there are cards in the stack, anyone who wants to play number cards on their turn can only play cards of a value equal to or less than what's showing on the top of the stack. Let's say after using my turn to play these 3 5s, the next person who has this hand of cards and these piles also wants to play number cards. They have 2 7s in their hand but could not choose to play them because the values they play have to be equal to or lower than what's showing on the top of the stack. They do have this 3 in their hand, and they could combine it with this 3 on their personal piles, calling out 2 3s. You call out the cards you're playing because if what you just played caused there to be 4 or more cards of the same value on top of the stack, then you've just tapped the stack. For example, right now we have 2 3s on the stack. If the next person who has this hand and these piles were to play at least 2 3s to the stack, then there would be a total of 4 3s together on the stack. They actually have 3 3s to play. And anytime you add cards matching the top value of the stack, you announce the total number of matching cards this now creates. So here they would say 5 3s. As I said, when you create a matching group of 4 or more cards with the same values on top of the stack, you now tap the stack. To do this, remove all the cards in the stack, putting them into a shared discard pile. Then you immediately play any single or group of matching valued cards to begin a new stack. Let's say you were then to play 4 or more matching valued cards, then you would tap the stack again. So let's say this player could play 4 11s. They'd say 4 11s, then tap the stack by discarding these, and then they'd play again. Let's say this time they announce 2 4s. Then the next player would go. In this way, as long as you keep playing 4 or more cards of the same value, you get to keep playing over and over. Now remember, on your turn, playing number cards is just one option you have. You might instead use your turn to pick up the stack. If you cannot or choose not to play cards to the stack of an equal or lower value than its top card, you must pick up the entire stack and add it to your hand. This immediately ends your turn, and the next player in clockwise order would take their turn. You're trying to get rid of all of your cards, so you don't usually want to pick up the stack, though sometimes you might choose to, even when you have cards you could play. Especially if you think the cards in the stack might be easier to play than what you currently have, or if you think they might help you create groups of 4 or more cards to tap the stack with. That said, if you don't want to be forced to pick up the stack when you don't have number cards you can play, there is another option. On your turn, you might instead tap in or tap out. In the deck, there are 11 of these tap-in cards and 7 tap-out cards. On your turn, you can play a tap-in card to the stack no matter what value is showing on top. When you do this, discard the tap-in and the entire stack, and then immediately play 1 or more of your cards to the stack, following the usual rules. Instead of playing a tap-in with this action, you might play a tap-out. This allows you to skip your turn. Maybe it's my turn and I don't have numbered cards I can play to the stack. In this case, everything I have is a higher value than what's showing here. If I play a tap out, I'm announcing I'm tapping out. I then discard this, my turn ends, and the next player goes. I'm not out of the round and will play again when it comes back to my turn. However, when playing a tap out card, you can instead play it on someone else. Let's say on my turn, I play a tap out. Rather than use it on myself, I can assign it to another player at the table, putting it in front of them. We'll see what effect this has on them in a moment, but when you use a tap out on another player, you must always take another action right after. This could include playing another tap out on another player, which would again require you to take another action right after. So maybe now I would play a number card. Just be aware, at most, a player can only have 1 tap out card played on them at a time. Basically, after playing a tap out on someone else, you then must take another turn. Either playing another tap out, as we just saw, or a tap in, or playing number cards to the stack, or being forced to pick up the stack. The important thing to understand is that after you play a tap out on another player, you must then take another turn right after. All right, with that understood, let's see why you might want to play a tap out on someone else. When it comes to a player's turn, if they have a tap out in front of themselves, they discard it. That immediately ends their turn and then the next player goes. So giving someone a tap out causes them to lose their turn. On the other hand, if it comes to a player's turn and they have a tap out in front of them, they can play a tap in card from their hand to cancel it. They just put both of these cards into the discard pile and then they take their turn as normal. In this case, maybe they would play a number card. And keep in mind, if you have a tap in or tap out card face up on your piles, you can play them from there on your turn as well. As we've seen, you play face up cards in your piles just as if they were in your hand. But we also need to learn how the face down cards in your piles work, so let's learn about those next. You can only play a face down card once the face up card has been played from it. From that point on, when you're taking a turn to play number cards, instead of using one in your hand or face-up ones on your piles, you can pick any single face-down card to reveal. you flip it over and see if it can be played to the stack following the usual rules. So if its value is equal to or less than the value showing there, then you can. And as you do this, if you have matching valued cards in your hand or on your piles, you can add them to it at the same time. So in this case, I would declare 3 2s. You are not allowed to look at a face-down card before you try to play it to the stack. So it's risky. You might be able to play it to the stack, but maybe not. If you reveal a face-down card and its value is higher than the one on top of the stack, you must pick up the stack along with the card that you flipped and add them all to your hand, which ends your turn. If the card you reveal is a tap-in or tap-out card, just resolve it right away using the rules we've learned for these types of cards already. All right, so to summarize, on your turn, you either play a number card or tap in or tap out, remembering that if you tap in or play a tap out on someone else, you then have to take another turn again right after. Also, anytime it's your turn and you cannot play or choose not to play cards, you have to pick up the stack. Turns will continue around and around the table in clockwise order until someone plays their last card, which means their piles and hand will be empty. As soon as that happens, first discard any tap-outs that might have been assigned to players, and then have each player total their scores. You do this by adding all of the face-up and face-down cards in your piles to your hand, and then you lay them all face-up. Let's assume a player had all of these cards in their hand. Each number card is worth a number of points equal to its value. So these would be worth 8, 2, 7, 4, and 5 points for a total of 26. Every tap-in card you have is worth 20 points, and each tap-out card is worth 30. Using a pen and paper, or anything you have on hand, record each player's score, keeping in mind the person who played all their cards will score 0 points for that round. You want to have a low score, so scoring 0 points is great. And with the scores recorded, you now start a new round by gathering all of the cards together, including the ones that you had set aside after setting up the first round. Shuffle all of the cards together and then set up a new round just as before. You'll keep playing rounds like this, adding any points gained in a new round to any you'd gained in previous rounds until eventually a round ends with a player having 150 or more points. When that happens, the game ends and the player with the least points wins. If there's a tie for the lowest score, the tied players share the victory. Or if you'd like to have a single winner, just play another round. And that's everything you need to know to play Tap 4. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. And if you'd like to support me directly, you can join our Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.